So hi, morning. I hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, it's a cold morning and yeah, but it's the rain stopped along the way. Windy Kasitetonya. I mean Chisasi right now. It's not raining. So we're yongogenda Chisasi thinking Chisasi Tonya Babajoli Tonya. It's actually not raining. Yeah. Checking my lunch boxes. Yeah, so I hope you guys have had a good night. Give me a shout out yet to us. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Yeah. You guys like comparing. So someone asked me to compare a Nissan Juke, a RAV4, Subaru XV, and the Toyota IST. You guys love comparing. Okay, I used to love comparing as well. It's like me saying my Corolla compared to a Harrier. That's a very bad comparison. Very bad comparison. It depends on what you're looking for in a car, and most of the times when people tell me to help them compare, ateta ngamba kyagenda kukozesa motoka. Cheers. So if you told me that I'm going to be using the car for this particular use, then I would, because the Nissan Juke, of course it's a saloon in an SUV form, and Nissans, generally Nissans teziba nnyo za mafuta paka ngitandisa okufa. When it starts breaking down, then it starts consuming a lot of fuel, a lot of money from your pockets. That's why I normally don't recommend Nissans, because Nissans are abagagga. Nissan, you can buy it, but I normally don't recommend for a person, a hustler, to buy a Nissan. I need to call this friend of mine. He bought his first Nissan and then he learned how to repair Nissans. So he's almost a Nissan mechanic. He's a banker, by the way. He's a marketer. He works in the bank, but he learned how to fix these cars himself because of the Nissan that he had here. So it's a very important thing for us to understand that some cars will give you a lot of headache. They'll take a lot of money. So I know I don't even like to compare Nissans to Toyotas at all. Yeah, you can probably compare a Nissan to a Mitsubishi, because then a Mitsubishi might be worse than a Nissan, or they might be in the same category depending on which car you're buying or which car you're going to be owning. RAV4 and the Nissan Juke is a motor car almost there, the same, probably in a Subaru XV, but then you don't compare it to the IST. The IST is in its own league. First of all, the IST is overpriced. That's one thing I'll tell you. So I personally don't think it's worth the money if you're going to be buying. I think it's overpriced. They'll tell you that IST UX bajiguza million 16. At 16 million, I can go to the bond and get a very good Paso 1.3, which will serve me properly. At 16 million, I can go on the bumper Sient and the manja million bidding ampere from the bond. I think the pay me as a jewel and Enzmala Yons. You get what I'm saying? So it's it depends on what you want to use the car for. The IST is overpriced, the Alex is overpriced, the Primo is overpriced. There's a motor capacitor. I don't see the value it adds. I also think the Spacio is overpriced, and when people realize that these cars are overpriced for nothing, the world will become a better place. Because instead of buying a Spacio at 15 million, one that is a new AX, why don't I just go to the bond and get myself a Sient at 17? You get, of course, but you will be starting the car yourself. Now people will say, after you're confusing us, you're telling us I take a T for Chogula Spacio in Cadde, why don't I go to the board and get a Sienta that is. Now I'm just trying to show you that sometimes it's the math, purely the math. I would personally not buy an old car if at 13 if I can afford 16 to get a new one. You get, because a car you buy at 13 or in 13, ojja gitunanga 10 okitegeera when you drive it for some time. Also, for me to buy a spacio that is 13 ngeri ku UAM, when I can go and get a new parcel, when I can go and get a new parcel at 16 ganze nketandikidde. Remember, those cars rarely break down. Most of the monies that people spend when they buy cars from the bond, these monies are to put extras, sport rims, buy new tires, radio B, mostly these are extras. You need to understand. And you can buy a car from the bond and you don't spend money on it. No, so but majority of the times that is impossible, because when they have expectations and then they start looking at it sport rims you get. So it's important for you to understand that sometimes you can get a car from the bond. Of course, the things that I recommend people check, make sure you check the braking system. Brakes of course the brakes are cheap. You change the brakes. Normally the other things are okay. Brakes, because brakes is a motor car. If you have bad brakes, you can even get an accident, and you don't want to go through that. Yeah, today the jam is crazy. I don't know why. You know, sometimes when the rain comes in the morning, everyone gets their car, and then all of a sudden you find yourselves that by the time you get to the road, there's actually no rain, and there are so many cars on the road, and then there's jam. So today, even in the evening, there's going to be a lot of jam. So if you have a car and you can leave it at home, take a border, because you may find yourself. That's if you can do without the car. There are people that can do without the car. So without the car and they still manage. If you're traveling alone in the car, yeah, it would be a good idea. It's going to cost you to just simply go through jam. Yeah, the jam is quite a lot, not like normally. Yeah, so when you're making comparisons, if you said everything, you need to think to yourself, what am I going to be using the car for? For example, if I had 50 million, with the kind of work that I do, I'm in the performing arts, and quite often I have to move teams from place A to place B. Now, in my line of work, if I had 15 million and I can manage to buy a car, I'd actually go and buy a drone. Crazy, eh? Crazy, but if I buy a drone, first of all, it serves the purpose of moving me up and down. It has air conditioning like my Corolla. It's comfortable. The drone is very comfortable. I once did a project where we traveled in drones. I had like 4 teams, they were all traveling in drones, and these drones were actually okay. You can make it much more comfortable. You can put music, you can put all the things that you can put in these small cars. And also the drone is the fuel consumption is okay. So if I had 50 million today, I would actually go and buy a drone. And why I'm buying a drone is because when I need to move my teams, I can move them. And I can also do ride sharing. You see what I told you. When neighbors are stuck, when you can network with neighbors, and then those that don't have cars, those that can do without driving their cars, and then you get 10 of them in your drone, and then just like that, you make even money with your car. So if you have 10 people, good morning, Kenneth, thank you for being here. So I'm just picturing that I have my drone, it has 14 seats, and then my family also has seats, and then I have neighbors as well. So I get 10 of my neighbors. If eight of your neighbors each gives you like a 5K, you almost have 40,000 there. And the drone almost consumes the same as my Corolla. So you're using, let's say 30,000 to go to town and back. So you've already made your fuel, okay, with that, and even lunch. So I would go and buy a drone instead of buying a Harrier Kawundo, but that's a choice I would make. It's prestigious and all, but then for me I realized that if I can actually travel without investing money in my travels, for me it would be a very good thing. So I'd buy a drone. Now, but I'm just buying a car to take me to work. Yes, I'll be getting to work, but I would also be making money as I get to work. And also, if you can schedule the time for movement, you can actually come back with your neighbors again. So they give you an extra 40. So you realize that the expense at home, good morning Patrick, thank you for being here. You realize that the money that you spend at home, you actually cover it here. So you tell me I come and start paying for it. I pay for it. Or if you have a brother who owns a bond, you can tell me. So you realize that I'll be expenses at home, my expenses during the day are covered by that car. For people like me who live 35 kilometers, of course I live in an estate. So the estate has a lot of people. And many of these people will almost give up businesses in town because the transport costs and even the means, the cost finding a taxi that lives at their time might be hard. So that's how to move the business at home. You get. So having a car that can actually take a lot of people would be advantageous in an area like mine where I live. Yeah. So it's a choice. What do I want to use the car for? Atekati, you need to understand that where we are going, things like you're buying a car, more strictly a person like me, I can't leave my neighbor Kucharo. I can't. It simply doesn't make sense. Sometimes that's how you create good networks. Thank you, Dunston. I'm glad you're here. So sometimes for me it doesn't make sense to leave a neighbor to go take a taxi when I can actually give them a lift. Normally, this is how you create networks that will help you in the future. What am I talking about? Sometimes, as you talk to your neighbor here, this is when you create a network. No, this is what I do, blah, 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 blah. You'll be there one time and your neighbor calls you up, what business at my workplace, they want a supplier for such and such a thing. And then I heard you do this, can you supply this? Yeah, and then what's the cake? And then they tell you, okay, it's about 20 million. And then you go and do that business and you make that money. But how did you make that money? Simply by giving your neighbor a lift and they understood what you do. And then, yeah. Of course, people will say some people are evil, so you don't bring people close. Yeah. And I have a friend of mine that used to say, people are evil. You know how they say a good Muganda is a dead one. And I told these people, how many Baganda have you met? And how many non-Baganda have you met? You get. If you have lived in a community of Baganda and you have seen them betray each other, okay, you have not lived in a community of, let's say, Burundians, okay, or the Hutus. So you don't know how if Hutus actually betray themselves. So you have lived in this community and you've had, good morning, Seth, saying thank you for being here. You've lived in this community of one tribe, and because they do bad things to each other, you think they are bad, all of them, okay? So you just have to live in a community of other people to also see if they are also bad. I believe people, humans, regardless of tribe, regardless of color, regardless of wealth, regardless of height, regardless of size, we choose to be bad or good, and it doesn't. A bad person doesn't have to actually sit close to you to do harm to you. They can do harm to you from a distance. You get. So for me, I find that if I can buy a car that can help me make some money as well, I would actually definitely buy it. That's why I'm planning to buy a Chigege, and then that Chigege is one that I'll be driving, because the drone is quite expensive, but I can afford a Chigege. Yeah, you can buy a Chigege at around 18 million. That is good. I'm not telling you guys that you go and buy a Chigege, because you may buy a Chigege and you live in Bukoto. People in Bukoto can walk to work. They don't really need lift from you. But me, I live 35 kilometers from town. I can actually talk to the guy that drives the taxi. You get. But that might not happen to you. So you need to understand your environment as well. You can go and buy your Kawundo and enjoy luxury. Woo, 60 million, 50 million pumped into one car. Yeah, at my age, I feel like it's not a very good choice. But of course, that's for you to decide. So you guys, as I talk about these things, I'm waiting for questions, live questions that I could answer. Yeah, Kruger has no market, but Kruger is very reliable. I have a friend that why did I schedule at the time, and I go and I talk to him, and then we do a review on the Kruger as well. The Kruger is actually very reliable, and he's always in a hurry of boom, because that friend of mine is a hustler. and it literally never breaks down. Jivuga, of course, it consumes like a little fuel because it's 2.4 cc, but even Harriers are 2.4 and 3000 cc, the windows. So you would be consuming the same fuel. However, if thieves are to steal, robbers, highway robbers, they will easily stop a Kawundo and they will not stop the Kruger. I normally tell people it's very good for you to camouflage yourself, for people to not start thinking that you have a lot of money even when you have it. Let them thinking to toina toke. It will keep you safe. You know, robbers these days, they come to your house, they want money, you don't have it, they can kill you for not having money. They can also kill you for having money. So why do you want people to know? Actually, Obote made those remarks after hearing speeches during burial in Uganda as opposed to when still alive. When Baganda say good things about dead people. Yeah, like in Uganda, we don't say bad things about the dead. But I think it's changing. I believe that a bad person should be bad. The world should know that this person was bad when they're alive, even when they die. And I think we should actually start isolating bad people, because that's how people that can still be good will change and start being good. But otherwise, if we treat bad people the same way we treat good people, the world will not become a better place. If someone treats you bad, let them know that you treated me bad, you're a bad person, and I don't like you for that. Otherwise, so Obote's remarks were not actually as evil as it's made. Thank you, my brother, for educating me. So you guys, the statement "a good Muganda is a dead one" was not as evil as. So I'm actually going to start educating people about that, because in Uganda, when they die, he's only praised for the good things that he did. Nobody actually. So Seth has enlightened us that the speeches that people make during the burial of Baganda, that's where Obote did his statement. Nti good Muganda is a dead one. Why? Because omuntu asobola okubanga mulamu. Impreza 1.5 cc. Yes, I'm going to answer that. This is Inan Stewart. So a good when the Muganda dies, we say good things. You come and then cry and say, but not me. Me, I don't do that anymore. Me, a bad person is a bad person. It's very important for you to draw a line. Otherwise, that's why people keep harming each other. Because you know someone is bad, but you keep treating them like they are the best, and then they come and harm you again. They come and do bad things to you again, which is not good for you. So Stuart is asking about the Impreza 1.5 cc. Now, I've seen a number of people drive the Impreza 1.5 cc. Now, I have a friend of mine who has driven the Impreza. He keeps changing models since 2012 when I started. He works at the Uganda Communications Commission. And Yedidandiga, what's his name? And he always puts comprehensive insurance. There's a time his car broke down. At that time, Nalimvu got Toyota Chikumi. You know those Chikumis. So he hired my kanga and paid him every week, and then he drove that car in the until the insurance company paid him. So he has kept changing models. And one thing that he says about this Impreza is that tenure mafuta. 1.5 cc is a small engine, and normally the guys that drive Subarus tebafa nnyo ku mafuta, because Subaru ekintu ekyali kyagirima kyali kya mafuta, especially for the foresters. However, mu Impreza Subaru hit it. The 1.5 cc ebeera tenywa, emoroka eba tenywa because it's 1.5 cc, and majority of the guys that drive the Imprezas bavuga mpya. So it's important Impreza, because I've seen Impreza guys in Abazi parking because Subaru is expensive to maintain. That's a fact. Spare wa bay neba makanika abategeera zi Subaru ezo nabo batono. So nabo almost ojabasanga balinga aba makanika ba German cars, because batono bakubba nabo bemanyi. So bw'oveewo ono ng'olowooza akubye, ogenda okutuuka ewoli ng'ono yamukubidde essimu, waliwo customer wange adduse nayinza okujja ewuwo. It's like Subaru people, it's like Subaru drivers, balinga nabo abeemanyi. So even the mechanics know each other. So it's just know that a Subaru is not as easy to maintain as a Toyota. For me to maintain my Toyota, a mechanic in one day when I can move to Kubi and they don't know each other, and that mechanic could be Nankura Konga Tanzania because I'm new. You get what I'm saying? So Subaru is not as easy to maintain as Toyota. Spare our bay, Chogomanya, because even the specialized spare parts shops for Subaru nazo ntono. Kati kitegeeza era bagenda kukuseera, so you need to know that before you buy a Subaru. Na inga kote kanywa, that's the plus. Kati Subaru, majority of the time the people that buy Subaru are those guys that are passionate. You see, if you watch the interview that I did with Kasim, the Benz mechanic, you realize that the thing he keeps stressing when nabadde was, isn't it expensive to maintain a Benz? Benz, it means that majority of the people that buy Mercedes Benz are passionate about them. This same thing applies to guys that buy Subarus. The guys that buy Subarus are normally guys that are passionate about Subaru. They are normally not concerned about fixing the car and all that. That's why you find that abavubuka Subaru bwemulema bisere bisinga abayagigula tamanyi kyayingiramu agenda okukituukamu nga maintenance of this Subaru is actually very expensive. Nemulemerera. That's why they park them. Majority of the time abantu abagula Subaru nga tebabimanyi agula Subaru ya turbo nga tamanyi what it implies to buy a turbo Subaru. Nemulemerera. The turbo Subarus have a lot of troubles. So whenever you're buying a Subaru, buy the non-turbo one. The non-turbo Subarus are more expensive than the ones that have turbos. You get Vanguard. Okay. So the Subaru, the non-turbo ones are more expensive, but they're easier to maintain. Because Taboya Subaru, I have a friend of mine, I've told you this story before. I bought a Mark II from him, and then he upgraded and bought a Subaru, the Cross Sport. It had a turbo. That's the lockdown, the year 2020, before the lockdown actually came in. And what happened is that Yajivu gave me like 5 months, and you can imagine during the lockdown, because he worked on the TV, so he still had a chance to go to work. But the Subaru, he failed to maintain the Subaru. So he ended up doing better with someone that had more money than him, and then the other person gave him another Subaru, an easier to maintain Subaru, one that did not have a turbo. You get? So it is important that you understand that when you're buying a Subaru turbo, there's on your way, or a non-turbo. Besides, yes, if a turbo Subaru actually goes very fast, where in Uganda are you going to drive the maximum speed of a Subaru? You get? So it's important for you to understand that I think Council Yunus also talked about it in his interview, that his golf was a beast, but where else apart from the Entebbe Express? I think at Entebbe Express you get tickets. A traffic officer doesn't have to be there. They use their cameras, and then they give you tickets. They publish you in the newspaper, and you go to this police station and pick your ticket. So you can't also do maximum speed on the Entebbe Express highway. So Subaru, the Impreza is good fuel wise, but maintenance wise, the spare is expensive when it breaks down. So that's why I think majority of the time Subaru Toyota. Why? Because Toyota is fairly easy to maintain. Then, is it advisable for one to buy a car diagnosing machine? Yet I'm not. Yes, Patrick. Especially if you're buying these cars in a MPR, okay, in a model MPR, VVTI. The computer is, you buy it. Why? Majority of the time when these cars have the fault, dashboard, when in your dashboard you have those warning lights, the only thing you have to do to find out what's wrong is to actually plug in the machine, and then the machine will tell you what is wrong with the car. If it's a sensor, then you can actually easily go and check where the sensor is. All you have to know is where the sensor is located. Then you go. Sometimes a wire has broken, and all you need to do is to go and fix the wire. Sometimes the sensor is actually blown. All you have to do is know which sensor, then go downtown and buy it. But you see, the diagnosis machine, you can buy it at around 1 million. If you're going to, because you're not going to go backwards and buy old cars. You're going to keep upgrading your cars. So this diagnosis machine will be good for you. And you can also make some money with it. if friends in your network know that you have a diagnosis machine, chances are high that they will not go to a mechanic, because these mechanics charge between 50 to 100,000 to diagnose cars. But if I buy my machine and I keep it, okay, I actually sent for a machine myself. So you guys, soon I'll be doing diagnosis. Because diagnosis is not hard. You just plug it and say, I want you to check the gearbox. I want you to check the engine. I want you to check the electronic system, and then it will tell you. So buy that machine. The whites are a little more advanced than us, because once you know that these new cars, like I've told you, my Corolla doesn't really break down. And when it breaks down, I know what is breaking down. Okay, the rest of the things, like I have lights in the dashboard. I know it's the ABS, like I told you yesterday. I disconnected my ABS, the ABS control. So I got the braking system now is back to ordinary. I got those connectors and I connected my brake fluid. Because I can't spend 400,000 buying an ABS control. So I have the warning lights. I'll show you later. I have the warning lights in the dashboard, but I know it's the ABS that is warning. I'll buy the ABS control and put it there. But currently, so I'll show you how I did it. And I did it myself. So, and the car brakes properly. So you buy the diagnosis machine, you can buy simpler ones. What one nobody cheap? You can buy it on Alibaba. There are these guys that ship things from China. You can go to them, I want this thing. I want it here, never calculated. You download an app on your phone, and then you put that thing and plug it in there, and then the app helps you read the error codes and what is wrong with your car. There are those cheap ones. Cut for you, since you're domestic, you can buy a cheap one where you can diagnose your car. Diagnosis is very important, because majority of us, because you don't want to spend 50 to 100,000 for a diagnosis machine, you end up going to a mechanic because diagnosis, and sometimes the mechanic will not tell you that now with this kind of fault you need a diagnosis machine. So but if you have that diagnosis thing, error code, just plug it in there, diagnose your car, and then when you go to the mechanic, probably will watch you go and tell him na diagnosis the motor sensor for your sensor. And sometimes even these guys Google, the guys that have diagnosis machines, what they do is that they use Google. The machine name the error. What he does is goes to Google, what does this mean? And then Google tells him that means this sensor is located here and here and here. And then Najana ina Kugamba. You get, so, and this is knowledge that we guys so you can buy that diagnosis machine. I'm not saying you're going to be fixing your car all the time, but it's good for you to know, you understand your car. We're gonna give for some time. You get, like now me who wants to buy a drone, I would not buy a drone and not have a diagnosis machine. You get, yeah. So it's okay, you can buy the diagnosis machine so that you understand your car properly. Sometimes resetting your car, those machines help you reset, because sometimes the motor can mafuta only because a error codes or and it's only the diagnosis machines that can actually reset. You get, yeah. And some of the faults are wiring. You can only get to know them using the diagnosis. Not like cars like Sientas, Ractis. It's a motor that's computerized. Gearbox bayinza nogisumula ne bagikanika nga gearbox teyina buzibu. You get. So let me see this other one. Most people have a budget of between 5 to 10 million for cars. Enlighten us between Pajero IO and Pajero 98. Okay, for me to buy a Pajero IO, if I had the chance to buy the Pajero 98, I would buy the 98. Why am I saying that? Because the IO has a lot of problems. Most of the problems are electronic, and you know electronic problems still disturb Ugandans. Now, there is a garage along the Masanafu Road, the road that comes from Mengo direct to the Northern Bypass. Those guys are specialized in car wiring. And if you went to that place, the majority of the cars there are Mitsubishi Pajeros. Okay, Mitsubishi in general. But they have a lot of Pajeros. But they also have a lot of Pajero IOs. Why? Because these cars have a lot of electronic faults. And these electronic faults are hard to fix. You get? That's why if you go to that garage, if you can have a chance, actually, excuse me, If you live along those roads, you can ask anyone, Geoffrey, Akura wiring. They know Geoffrey. All he does is wiring. His garage doesn't fix anything else but car wiring problems. And he has a lot. He's the best, basically the best in Kampala. Geoffrey. He does wiring. And he has a lot of Pajeros and Mitsubishi cars parked there. He also has the guys that have bought Mazdas, those new Mazdas that they are brought there. And if he fails to fix your car, sometimes you park it. You end up parking it. I told you about a time that I had a Dudu and it stopped on the road. I spent 3 days on the road until I decided to just take the car to him. He fixed one wire which people were missing and the car started. He's too good. But he has a lot of Mitsubishi Pajeros, Mitsubishi, all Outlanders. They are all parked there. I think someone has asked me about the Outlander. They are there, but they are not there because the engines are blown. They are not there because the gearboxes are blown. No, they are there because of electronic faults. So our mechanics in Uganda have not yet figured out electronics for cars that are not Toyotas. Because the Toyota car, they can basically dismantle it, put it down out there and fix it wire by wire. But these other cars, especially the Mitsubishi, if it's old, you may suffer with it. But between the IO and the older version, the 98 that you've said, go for the 98. Why am I saying go for the older one? Because it has less electronics. Until that Pajero, the old one, you can basically break down in Luweru and the mechanic will fix it. But the IO, you break down in Luweru, you're going to put it on a car carrier to bring it to Kampala to be fixed. And even when you bring it to Kampala, you may fail to fix it. So it's important for you guys to actually understand how these are and why people hold on. Yeah, it's important that we understand why the IOs are, but because you tell me, how many Pajero IOs have you seen on the road that are, I think Azajazarimu UAS. How many Pajero IOs have you seen on UAS? Forget about the Bayindi that live in Bukoto and working in Tinda. It goes 1 kilometer to work, 1 kilometer back, 2 kilometers a day. It's very hard for a car that moves only 2 kilometers to die. Now bring that car to my route where I drive 85 kilometers a day and tell me if it can last a month. You get? That's why you don't buy a Mercedes-Benz as a single car, as a daily drive and take it to my place. And then you will start thinking that Benzes are bad. But Benz are made for town service. You get? If you drive it to my place, you drive it once. You for prestige. You have a very important meeting and you go with your Mercedes-Benz. It's important for us to understand those things. Pajeros, I would personally avoid Pajeros. I would recommend that if you want to buy an SUV, you go for the Toyota SUV. You can go for RAV4, there's Harrier, there's Kruger. Even the Suzuki Escudo is not bad, especially the newer Mundo. Even the Honda CR-V is not bad. The maintenance is a little on the high end. That's why how many times do you find the Honda CR-Vs on the road in Gazifu? Very rare. However, someone yesterday asked me about the Mitsubishi Chariot. My brother, avoid Mitsubishi. You see, the government in the past used to drive Pajeros. You remember? Because I have a relative of mine who was a driver of Bank of Uganda. And they used to drive Pajeros in the past time, in 1990s. But there is a reason why government moved from Pajeros to Toyota Land Cruisers. And it's totally not marketing. It's not marketing. It just has to do with research. Which car is more reliable? You get? Which car outlives its work? Because of Jazisanga Pajeros, I think judiciary still drives Pajeros. I don't know why. But most of these, even the president drives Land Cruisers. You get? There is a reason, and it's not accidental. So the Chariot, majority, okay, if you see a Chariot on an older number, UA, open the hood. You realize that that person has a Toyota engine in there. They change the engine, they change the gearbox, they change the wiring system to Toyota. Majority of the Mitsubishi Chariots on the road that are older. Because a mechanic, if a mechanic likes you or if a mechanic is professional, they will not advise you to buy a Mitsubishi Chariot. It's very comfortable, by the way. Mitsubishi Chariot, majority of Mitsubishi cars are very comfortable. The majority of cars that are not Toyota are much more comfortable than Toyotas. I think that's why Toyota even made the Lexus, because the Lexus is the luxury version of a Toyota. That's why they have Lexus saloons, they have Lexus, because if you drive a Lexus in the SUV, the one that looks like a Harrier, forget about these ones that put Lexus logos when they are driving Harrier. If you drove a Lexus and you drove a Harrier, you'd feel a difference. They are both in their own league. The Lexus is much more comfortable because Lexus was created for luxury, much more luxury than the Harrier. The Harrier, yes, was created for luxury, but the Lexus is in its own league. So even Subarus are much more comfortable than Toyotas. You get. So you need to understand that these cars are comfortable. The Chariot is very comfortable, but my brother, avoid it. Now there are people that don't know what they don't know the Chariot. Me, I've seen Chariots disturb people, and I saw them change engines because the engine of the Mitsubishi is very hard to maintain. And this is general. The only Mitsubishi that I know that doesn't disturb is the Mitsubishi L200. Okay, the Mitsubishi L200, because it's a pickup. I don't know. These guys got it well with their pickups. They do very well. The van, they do very well with their pickups. But I don't even their lorries, the trucks. I think they are very good. But still, the Hilux beats all of these cars. The Hilux is almost indestructible. You can find a Hilux on UXX and it's still on the road, but then you find a Nissan hard body on UFV. So it's important for you to understand. If you don't have money and you're buying a car, is a Moroke the older models are always better. If you're buying a Pajero, older model is better. It has less electronics. Which take it, if you find that the engine is good, the gearbox is okay, and majority of these older models are manuals. So gearbox tejakufa. But if you find the engine is okay, they only have wires that come from wherever they come from. They go to the lights, and the only electronics you have in this car are the lights and the radio and the dashboard. You get. So basically, those cars will be very easy to maintain. You find it one time, a full day wiring. You get. There is a check door here. I don't know if you can see. Traffic officers are there. I don't know why they are not stopping us. I think they are still cheap. But they are there. Yeah. Let's come back. So my brother, if you can avoid Mitsubishi at all costs, try and avoid it. Yeah, you don't want to find yourself saying a motoka zanta, because I've seen people the motoka chance so the motoka you get. Because there's a follower of mine that said he bought a Raum. You know, I've been discouraging you from buying Raum old model, and I'm trying to connect with him to see that he tells us his side of the story of the Raum old model. Don't buy Raum old model at all costs. And I drove it for some time, so I'm telling you, the Raum old model almost made him broke. It can eat your money little by little. You know these cars, every day that you fix a car, you think, okay, katinjimazi. And then it doesn't. Then you try to fix it the next day, and then you think and then it doesn't. You get. Basically, that's how things be. So you keep fixing, and I think that's what he went through. So I'm trying to connect with him at Tubuli. There's another person that said don't buy a Mark X. I'm also trying to connect with him to give us his side of the story, so that Temutomera Mark X, the next time you go to buy a Mark X, if you still want it, you actually know what to look out for, and then you don't make that mistake. So I think buy the older model in case you really have to buy. a Pajero. But if you don't really have to buy a Pajero, if you have 5 to 10 million, you can get a very good RAV4. You can even get a very good Harrier. I'm telling you this. You can get a good Harrier, you can get a good RAV4. Opinion on the Vanguard. Now, Vanguard, I don't know why people want to buy this car. Majority of the people that have a Vanguard have it as a second car. so they don't really drive it all the time. Ebeda ya family nga they share it ebeda wow. In case all the other cars have gone nga someone needs to move, they drive it, probably go to the market, go where. And also some of the people that have the Vanguard buy in motoka z'omulimu. So the Vanguard is like my personal car, but I don't really drive it. So I bought it because I have to match with the status of the company car that I drive. So they keep it there. So if you're going to buy the Vanguard, it's one car, joina your car. I don't really recommend it. Normally I tell people, if you're going to buy an SUV type of car, first buy a smaller car, and when you have accumulated a lot of money, you can buy the other one as a second car. So that a motor car because normally these SUVs are very expensive to maintain, very expensive to repair. So it needs a spare of about 1.5 million shillings, and you don't have the 1.5 million shillings, so you park that car and then you drive the simpler car that you have. Like me, and I have my Corolla. So if I have my Corolla and I decide to buy a Kawundo, you get that makes sense. So that if the Kawundo needs a spare of 600,000 and I can't spend that 600,000 there at once, I drive my Corolla. You get, so normally that's the balance. But the Vanguard is a very good car. I've not seen breakdown on the road. Why? Because majority of the Vanguards are on new number plates, first of all, and then the people that have them, majority buy them from the bond, new, and then majority of them don't drive them daily. For those that drive them daily, they live in Tinda, work in Bukoto. They live in Tinda, they work in Nakawa. So they don't really drive them long distances. And some of these people, they have company cars. So this is not a daily drive. It's important for you to understand that. It's a very nice car. It looks nice. It looks macho. But before you buy it, you need to know what works for you. Yeah, but you can buy it either way. Also, you grab the first car if you have some money for maintenance. Yeah, and you enjoy. And then someone is asking, what about okay, Toyota Passo 1.3 and Vitz all model 1.3, which is good for Uber. The Passo 1.3 will be good. First of all, because you're going to buy a car that is newer. Okay. But the Passo engine is a little weak. This car was built for fuel saving. It wasn't really built for performance. On the contrary, the Vitz 1.3, the RS, is the sport version. It was created for performance. So you get a Passo 1.3, you'll enjoy it, but sometimes you overloading because it doesn't have that power. It's not a performance car. But the 1.3cc Vitz is a performance car. I think you get the difference. Unless Ubanga, you make sure that you don't take more than the recommended number of people. And by the recommended number of people, you need to also consider size. And if you're going to be driving people that are 90 kgs and above, I told Bavugabana, because 90, that's 180. You're driving over 500 kilograms in your car. 500 kgs is gonna kumenya akamoto kako because ka engine kako sika amani ka engine kanafu. Olaba ne movie is 1.3 what the engine eyo nene eteka sigala kamenyeka. So I would recommend, first of all, the old model of the Vitz is going to be a little cheaper to buy. If you find the Passo 1.3 cheaper than the Vitz Togula, you're probably buying someone's problems. But you can get a Passo 1.3 at around 13 to 14 Ngairimo UB series, but you cannot get a Vitz, the RS 1.3 Ngairimo UB series at the same amount. Why? Because the Vitz will outlive the Passo, and the resale value for the Vitz is higher than that of the Passo, and the performance of the Vitz is better than that of a Passo. So I think I've tried to make the comparison better for you. Even the space, even the ground clearance, the only advantage is that the Passo will get a new number plate, so it's important. But the performance will be better in the Vitz. What about the RAV4 short old model? The RAV4 short and the RAV4 long, there be no difference apart from the number of people they carry. Okay, but even the number of people they carry, the RAV4 long carries 5 people, even the short carries 5 people. The difference is that this one doesn't have extra doors. It means a base has a weight. You get, the engines are the same. It's all 2.0cc 2.0cc. Okitegeera, the tires eyambala kyekimu, even the maintenance is the same. Zonna zibeera 4-wheel drive. So it's important for you to understand that the difference is tiny. Of course, the RAV4 short eyinza okunywamu ku mafuta matonoko because it doesn't have that extra weight. Okitegeera, teyina that weight eya teyina that extra weight ey'enzigi ziri ebbiri. Okitegeera, but the RAV4 short is normally, I recommend it for ladies. Why? Because ladies are normally not hustling. Ladies yevugamu navuga abaana be. But for us men, the RAV4 long would do better for you because you'll find that there are times that you will need to do some work nga wetaaga okutikka ebintu. The RAV4 long has bigger boot, which it has a bigger boot. It means that you can carry stuff. To start farming, the RAV4, you don't have to sell your car to get a car that has a bigger boot. Your RAV4 will actually work for you properly. But it's also, it depends on what you want, because you might be the kind of person that wants a sexy car to pick up ladies. RAV4 short, picking abawala. Kokalonda bulungi ekkubo okusinga ku long eringi y'abasajja abakulu. You get. So the RAV4 short is like almost the Pajero short. Men used to buy the Pajero short for their ladies. Pajero short. The same thing happened with the RAV4 short. If a man was happy with his lady, he would buy her a RAV4 short. You get. So that's what happened. So it was a ladish car. So for a man that does business and all, me, I would not buy the RAV4 short. As a second car, it would be there. Amafuta, it's a 2000cc car. It has a 3S engine. Ebida tenywa nnyo, enywa kumpinga kibina. Naye ate enywa kyekimu nga Harrier. I don't know how that math works. Harrier esusamu 15. So if you were to buy, for example, someone to ask me to compare a RAV4 and a Harrier, I would definitely tell you to buy a Harrier because the difference in fuel consumption is negligible. You can drive a Harrier and not feel the difference in fuel consumption if you're comparing it to the RAV4. Like I said yesterday in the live in the evening, I told you that where I park my car, there are two people. One drives a Harrier. They come from the same area. One drives a Harrier, the other drives a RAV4, and they use the same amount of fuel. So, of course, one will tell you that it also depends on the condition of the car that you're driving. Yes, the condition is also there, but I'm imagining that by the time someone buys a RAV4, they're also looking for luxury. RAV4, SUV, but nebobo vuga Harrier vuga SUV. But if you parked both cars in the same area, Harrier have more recognition. RAV4. So if you're looking for that one to be SUV, I would highly recommend that you buy a Harrier because the price is almost cut in Harrier singa ko katono, but I think it's worth it. Bosanga Harrier, what your Harrier zina engine ngebera mu Ipsam almost. Yeah. Kati atina zoba zikola. Both these cars, the Harrier and the RAV4, their engines are repairable. Bajisumula ne bajikola in like 4 days ne bakudize motoka yo. Which take it at the old models. I'm talking about the old models. Zili repairable. Nti omuntu asumula engine eyo in 4 days now. Actually even 2 days. In 2 days the motoka yabaji kudiza ngo ugenzi. You get. So may I find that nebobo yagala motoka otya. The RAV4 short is good, by the way, and you can buy a RAV4 short in good condition about 7 million, 8 million. Of course, don't dictate the numbers. I told you if you have a small budget, you're not dictating a number. Buy condition. So you can buy a RAV4 7 to 8, get in good condition. And then we pida kwa engine nungi, the gearbox is good. Yeah, so don't think to yourself that that car is expensive. Ne Harrier right now you can get a Harrier 8 million, 9 million. Ngati na UCMB. Of course tojasangako mipiira mirungi because emipiira gya bbeeyimu, so omuntu waba agenda otunda Harrier ekyasooka okutundako gye emipiira anateekako emikadde. Otherwise omuntu gosanga alina Harrier yenga emipiira miramu aba agitunda mu million 10, 13, 10 okitegeera. But you can get a Harrier at 9 million, 8 million that has a good engine, good gearbox and it's clean in and out. Yeah, tebakulimba because kati awo Harrier esuka oguba mwaka mupya. You know there are Harriers that are newer models that we know indicator wansi on the headlamps. Izo ziba model mpyako. So but Wavits, I recommend to buy the RS wabogenda kola business because wabogenda vuga Uber, trust me, you're going to be moving about 200 to 300 kilometers a day. You want a Kanga engine togenda kubanga ojira likira 1.3 divided 2NZ ebera mu Vit say 1.3 ebera better okusinga 2SZ ya Paso. I don't know kubanga ka Paso bakakola specifically to save fuel. Kitegeeza bakakolera bakyala nabambi bangenda mu katale gula bintu nzire yewaka. Tibakakola for commercial tikanvuge Uber. You get? I don't know if you get what I'm saying. I think the same thing happened with the Sienta. Nti Sienta eyo obuzibu obwagituukako nti it's a 7-seater. Kati because omuntu agiraba 7-seater yeerabira nti it's a 1.5cc engine. Kati n'agitikamu abantu 8. N'agitika ng'atika Ipsam. And that makes those cars get weak and the engine break down very easily. Chovola abantu mu Sienta abantu abamu batawaanya. Naye nga it's because yakakozesa ng'akozesa Ipsam. That's why I'm telling you, if you want a 7-seater that will give you performance, go for the Toyota Wish. And if you're going to be doing heavy work, don't buy the 1.8, buy the 2.0cc. Some of these things are very simple math. The 2NZ engine, I think the what's this car? The Probox has a 1NZ engine like the one that I have, but it takes 4 passengers and the driver. That's 5 people. Chitegeza you can take those 5 people n'oteekamu n'ebintu emabega. Kati engine yemu gye bawadde Sienta ate ne bagiwa abantu 8 ate bagiwa abantu 8 ne bagiwa ne buutu. So sometimes ojasanga omuntu atissa abantu 8 atissa ebintu mu buutu akamotoka nga akamenya bwe kakuba yingini ng'agamba banaye yingini ezo singumu naye ng'ate ziba very okay. Big horn. My brother. Oh, let me first go back to this one. Talk about Fielder 2008 and how much can you get it, which is not used on Ugandan roads more than 2 years. Kati Fielder has a very 2000. Okay, let me go back again. Morning Abe, morning Bruce. Primo 2008 is a motor car. Primos is very reliable. All cars, Primos are very reliable. But the reason why I rarely even talk about those Primos is because they are overpriced. Because you can find a 2008 Primo ngabajiga million ya satu. But at 30 million, there is a lot that you can do. 30 million, you can buy two very good cars. I find them to be overpriced, but I'm going to get one of. We share a parking with someone that has a Primo. I'm going to try and talk to him today to see if we can share experience with him, Murabe. That one, I'm going to talk about it with someone that actually drives it. Good morning again. Please enlighten me. Does the thickness or thinness of the car tires have any effect on the fuel consumption? Now, Seth, I'm going to answer this in a very simple way. When you buy a car, mulogbook mulimu recommended tires. Forget about the thickness or thinness. Tumula mulogbook, there is a recommended tire. Like my Corolla, the recommended tire is size 185, but I put 195. Now, I put 195 and the liter goes for 14 to 15 kilometers. Let's say 13 to 15 kilometers. Now, imagine if I had put the rear tires, Zibagama 185, my car would go to 18 kilometers per liter. You get? So, when they make these cars, they put the recommended tire size and then they do a test to see how it will be consuming fuel. Now, these are the recommended tires. They are the tires you're supposed to put on a car. But normally, because of our roads, you find that someone actually, in a bid to raise the car, they'll put bigger tires, which is not bad, but it will affect the fuel consumption. Now, if a tire is big, the wheel has to rotate more times to finish the circumference. The circumference is the distance when you go around. But if a tire is actually smaller, I don't know if that's what you mean. If the tire is smaller, the car has to go very small rounds to finish the circumference. Which means if you put a smaller tire on a car, it will basically make it lower, which can damage other things, but it will consume less fuel. The bigger the tire, the heavier it is. You get? So it means if you put a bigger tire, the car will be taking more weight and it will be rolling more times to finish the circumference. As simple as that. And if it rolls more time to finish the circumference, it means, first of all, it will, it seems like it's going faster, but it will also consume more fuel because it does more work. I hope I've answered your question, Seth. So whenever you put a new tire, a bigger tire, it will raise your car, but it will also consume more fuel. So Dunston, Isuzu big horn resale value is very low. What are their problems? The car is a problem itself. The big horn. You know what they say that omuntu aguze ekizibu. Waliwo emmotoka z'ogula. Nga gwe tomanyi naye nga buli akulaba agamba ono amanyi kye yayingidde. There are two main cars that I know. The big horn and the Terrano. The big horn and the Terrano. Is a motor car. When you see those two cars, you run. Even if they are selling to you 1 million, run. The big horn and the Terrano. The big horn is Isuzu. The Terrano is Nissan. Ha! Okay, let me add this one. The Mitsubishi Chariot. The Pajero IO. The Terios, Toyota Terios. The Kayongeza. The moment you see those cars, run away. Run away and go far. Make sure they don't fight. Even if you like it, they'll make you sit in those cars. The big one is very comfortable. The Terrano is very comfortable. But my brother, whoa. Instead of buying a Terrano at 1 million, I would go and buy a Harrier Kaunda at 35. That's how bad it is. It has engine problems. Their gearboxes rarely break down, but they have engine problems that never end. If the engine gets a trouble with the turbo, you buy a turbo, the injectors will die. You buy the injectors, the turbo will die again. The turbo, then the computer, then then you have to overhaul the engine. My God. All the big ones that I've seen are being sold at 2 million, 2.5. I'm telling you. The Terranos, my brother. It's like Terrano and Big Horn are brothers, and they just decided to come to Uganda and disturb people. Sometimes if you find a big horn on the road, if you get a chance to open the hood open, it probably has a Mark II engine or a new one. When people change the engines in these cars, they either put Toyota Noah or Toyota Mark II engines. That's how they do it. Even the Pajeros, the older models, when their engines start giving people problems, they remove the engine and they put a Toyota, either Noah or Mark II engines, because their engines can be, they can sit in their engine rooms properly. Okay? Avoid, my brother. Avoid the Pajeros. Okay, I used to think I was bad luck. I had a friend of mine that had a Pajero, that older model that I think, is it Dunston that I talked about? No, was it Humphrey? Someone talked about the Pajero. I had a friend of mine that had that Pajero, and I would borrow it. That time I had sound equipment, and because it has a lot of space, so I would borrow that Pajero to load in my equipment, and I take it to a venue. But every time I drove that Pajero, it would overheat. And I asked myself, is it me who was bad luck? But because it's his car, he doesn't want to show us that and then he would keep telling. Then he sold that one, then he bought another, the Pajero short. And then for that Pajero short, he's a mechanic. He would go to Nairobi, and every time he comes back from Nairobi, he overhauls the engine. Now, who wants to be in such stress? that every time you take a very big trip, you come back and open the engine and rebuild it. You get? So for people that you're still making money slowly, there are cars that I would recommend that you avoid. Okay? Otherwise, I told you a story one time of a friend of mine whose brother went and bought from one of the big brokers at that time. What was his name? The guy had an office at one day, YMCA. He was very popular. Some people might know him by now. He was there at one day opposite YMCA. He had an office there. So this guy went and bought a super custom from him, about 16 million. And then the same guy came with Ame and they took the super custom from him. The guys tried to fight because he also has some connections in the army. He tried to fight, and these stories I'm telling you are true. Of course, the guy died, the person whose super custom was taken. He died after he had some illnesses and he died. So, but they took the super custom from him, and with the battles that went on in court and all that, they gave him a Terrano. But my brother, the Terrano was like a grave. I think it's one of the things that killed him. So one time I'm coming from abroad, and this friend of mine, the brother to the owner, they come to pick me up. I had my car, which was simple. I had my Chibina, but they decided to pick me up in a big car. So they picked me up in a Terrano. They took it to a petrol station. I tell them to chame to Nyama Futa. Then we go to the petrol station to put fuel. And the guy is putting fuel. These guys opened the bonnet. They put water in the radiator. I asked them what is happening. They laugh and they say, Arthur, story to judge. So when we drive from Entebbe, we reach somewhere in the middle before Taiba. They open the hood again. They had a 10-liter jerrycan. They put water. We reach Kajansi. They put water. So we drive for like 5-10 kilometers. They put water. And then we finally reach in Chevan where I lived. They say, "Ate moto ke chamuka." The Terrano yari chamuka. So I had a mechanic there. Then Then they put the cylinder head off. They cut the cylinder off, the head to stop kuchamuka. They put the cylinder head, and motor enables a man. Then they have those things, they buy Smanya injector, they bought the injectors, they bought the guy bought a turbo. And all those things I'm telling you, none of those things goes below 500,000 at the time. And that was around 2012, 2011. Katichobo Manya, the price has probably increased or even doubled. So they buy all those things. That is the Terrano. And at the same time, there was a big hole in the garage, struggling with almost the same illnesses. You get? Both those cars were sold at 2 million. Each of them was sold at 2 million. Atengera, umuntu agula that car 2 million. Ajaye matida, akuguranga kuyamba. 2 million. And they took that had new tires. Remember, just the tires alone can cost you 1.5 million. You get what I'm saying? So avoid those cars at all costs. Now for those cars, we're not managing a big horn when you buy it. Know a place where you can buy a Mark II engine, because very soon you're going to change the engine and gearbox. Actually, when you buy a complete thing, Mark II engine, Mark II gearbox. So you need to know a place where you can buy those things to replace. Because that's what happens with big horn. Because no one wants to buy a big horn. Teddy, at least the enlightened people don't buy big horns. They don't want to big horn. Run as fast as possible. Throw their logbook there and run. Because now I hope the guys that sell these cars don't actually think I'm stopping people from. You buy your cars. They are comfortable cars, but they have mechanical problems. So until the manufacturers or the dealers in Uganda get a solution for this, I've even talked about Toyotas. Akayongeza keso nyiwe. Akakayongeza nakatundira kukuba milioni emu. Ate ku milioni emu nekwataka emitwalo 10 ya breakdown inentwa ile yakagula. These things I'm telling you are facts. I had the Kayongeza, which I bought 3 million. I drove it for about a year. It started breaking down. And then one time it broke down and it was on the road for 2 weeks until I gave up. Mechanics had gone to that car, they had failed, and I called the person, the ones that kutemas those kuyongeza, and I told him Salongo mpa sente. He knew the car. Nangamba ngenda kuwa million yemu. Nemugamba Salongo nkaletewa. After a breakdown okadete one. I got a breakdown, paid him 100k. I went to Salongo, he gave me my 1 million. Then I know an uncle of mine bought a Kayongeza. For him, he bought it about 7 million. You know what's funny? This guy buys a Kayongeza when he knew I had a Kayongeza, but he did not ask me about my opinion. So he buys a Kayongeza at 7 million. A Kayongeza at 7 million is bad money, he's kidding money. So this guy goes ahead and buys a Kayongeza at 7 million, but I can tell you that he sold it at 2 million. That is a million. Start to name after a year. He sold 7 million. He bought 7 million and he sold 2. He sold 2 million. Akayongeza ke yakatunda a million a billion. Yakatunda a million a billion. So akayongeza karabe duka, it's a Toyota. There are also other Toyota cars that I've been telling you to avoid. For example, I've told you avoid the Toyota Raum. So I'm not against other types of cars. Avoid the Toyota Raum at all costs. I have to go, guys. No more questions. So I hope you've had a good day. Should we Land Rover na zozireke? There are cars. How many people that you know that have Land Rovers drive them on a daily? Okuja ngona hiyo yajichusa nateka mu Toyota ingini ya Toyota. You get, most of these cars that you see are not Toyota SUVs. You will find that the engine that is in there is actually Toyota. You get the Mitsubishi chariots that are on the road. Go and ask the owner. You will find that I know engineer Toyota Chimina. You get, so the Land Rover, avoid it. Avoid everything. Try and buy the cars that are common on the road. And even when the cars are common on the road, try to talk to the people that actually drive them or what their experience is. The Land Cruisers are not popular for nothing. You get, they are popular because they are very easy to maintain. Okay, not very easy, but they are maintainable, and they can outlive their purpose. So I have to go, guys. My day job is calling. I hope you've had a good time. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking the time to actually comment and ask, to text and chat with me. I hope I've answered all the questions. Thank you very much, Stuart, Kenneth, Patrick, Dunston, Seth, Ivan, and Kamuli, and Abe. Yeah, and Dunston, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you for being here with me. I would like to tell you again, on 17th, which will be a Monday, I'm going to have okay, someone is asking me, Jumba Martin, space your new model and old, which one can I go? Go for the new model. When you're buying cars, always go for the newer model. Newer models are always better. Thank you, Fred, for being here. The newer models are always better. But take it, I tell the space your old model is overpriced for nothing. Katoja sago muntu ngaguza space your old model UAU million 12. 12 ofuna UAU ku old model, mu new model. Ngateli better than the old model. So go for the new model always. Yeah. Ba makanika yabagama basimanye ine ebizibu bichi ba just makanika yabatamanyi jikanika. Toyotas are very easy to maintain. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for asking questions. Yes, 17th I'm going to be with Council Yunus. We'll be talking about some very interesting things for you to take note of. So don't miss. We'll be starting at 4 p.m. We'll have a live, me and him. And don't forget, check out the videos that I have in on my channel. Share the videos that you think will be useful to your friends. Share with them, and you can tell them to as well subscribe if they find the channel very useful. Yeah, thank you very much. And remember, I sell tracking devices and I install them at only 350,000. Our tracking devices, yes, but go with the mechanic, Martin. So tracking devices, they give you the power to actually, and Martin, after buying that car, tracking device, ompagira onkwe tracking device so that emotoka yo beera nayo in control kuba space yo bazagala nnyo bazitwala bananyinizo bayinzo ginona. You put a tracking device and an alarm system and then a security switch emotoka noba ng'ogyetoolodde yonna. I sell tracking devices and car alarms. Yeah, I'm also a marketing professional. But in a business, majority of the problems that disturb businesses are marketing problems. I'm a marketer. So I've used some of my marketing skills to make sure that I can actually get an audience on this channel. Yeah, I'm a marketing professional with a lot of experience in all kinds of businesses, small businesses. Nkuyambako to create systems that will keep customers coming, back. I also facilitate training sessions. Is a customer service training session, is a digital marketing training session, is a marketing, general marketing. Yeah. Yes, oba mpagidde oba tompagidde mbino ebyemmotoka kukeberako tracking devices and all. I'm a marketing professional. I train teams and individuals on how to properly market their businesses. Yeah, I'm a marketing professional with theory and practice. You guys, mukama abakumba olunaku olwaliro, have a very nice day. Fena atuteremu bwangu so that we make money. We need money to buy newer cars. Kakorola kano njagala kaveeko ngule Corolla 2010 oba seekyo ngene ngule hybrid yange Prius nga bwe njagala. Ciao.